When Milos left, the Cercurians, together with their Athenian allies, were facing off against the Corinthians, a powerful polis allied with Sparta. At the beginning of the battle, the Athenians tried to stay out of the fighting as much as possible. However, this proved to be impossible, and after a long and fierce fight, the Corinthians finally lost and fled ashore. Eventually, they were granted a safe withdrawal. The Athenians were probably hoping they could still avoid war with Sparta that way. However, they were wrong, as tensions were rising not only in this region, but in northeastern Greece as well. The stumbling block was the polis of Potidaea. Formerly they were allied to the Athenians, but had sympathies for the Corinthians, as the Corinthians had founded the polis generations earlier. Fearing that they might defect, the Athenians wanted them to tear down all their walls. Now, why would the Athenians make such a demand? It seems that they were hoping that by taking away all defenses of Potidaea, they could prevent an uprising, since the polis would be defenseless. Now, I don't know what brilliant mind came up with such an idea, but what happens next seems pretty predictable to me. Instead of just giving up, the people of Potidaea mobilized and tried to argue with the Athenian envoys. At the same time, they started negotiating with the Spartans and the Corinthians as well. Meanwhile, the Athenians were beginning to get suspicious. They sent out a detachment consisting of 30 ships and 1,000 men to Potidaea. But the gates were already closed down, and, well, not everybody was really happy to see them. Coincidentally, there was a civil war brewing in Macedonia. The Athenians wanted to support their pretender to the throne, and so they turned northwards. Macedonia during that era was in many ways similar to Latin America during the Cold War. There was constant political turmoil, and the superpowers of the time were usually heavily involved into local politics. So the decision by the Athenians to get involved really was nothing out of the ordinary. Meanwhile, the Corinthians decided it was time to face the Athenian menace, and assembled an army to help out their relatives in Potidaea. Their army consisted in 1,600 heavily armored and 400 lightly armored volunteers. The leader of the army was Aristeus, son of Adimantus. Adimantus had been an important general during the Battle of Salamis. This was one reason why his son could unite so many volunteers. When the Athenians heard about this, they immediately sent out reinforcements. Both armies met up at Thermi. The combined army now consisted of 3,000 men and 600 allied cavalry. Meanwhile, Aristeus had a smart plan. He decided to split up his army. He positioned one part of his army in Potidaea and the other part of his army in Olynthos. Now, as soon as the Athenians would besiege Potidaea, he could move out his troops from Olynthos and actually attack them from the rear. However, the Athenians thought about that too, so they split up their army as well. They sent their cavalry to Olynthos, meanwhile the rest of the army attacked Potidaea. In Potidaea, Aristeus moved out to face them for a fight. Aristeus commanded the left wing, where it just annihilated the Athenians. But he didn't just stop there, but followed the fleeing Athenian right wing. In hindsight, that turned out to be a mistake, because his main army actually lost the fight and had to retreat back to Potidaea. Now he was trapped outside the city. In a last-ditch effort, he rallied his men and marched them back to Potidaea. His plan was to break through the enemy line and to reach the city. It was a risky plan, but it was all they had.